I got the live notification. So now I've got to wait the 5 or 10 seconds delay to make sure we're actually live. There it is. We're good to go. I have once again successfully navigated the matrix. Hey, welcome back everybody to Parents Helping Parents Live. Really good to be back and be back live. I know the last one we had to pre-record because of some circumstances, but we're here now and we are live. It is Monday, March the 20th, and we're just glad that you're here watching us. If you're watching live, if you're not watching live, we're glad that you're watching post live too. So don't take my pandering of the live viewers as not appreciating people that come back and watch on YouTube or watch on Facebook. We're glad everybody's watching, but we just know that there are lots of places that you can choose to be on a Monday night, especially during March Madness. And we're just glad that you're here hanging out with us. So this is Parents Helping Parents. And if you're not familiar with Parents Helping Parents, we're an Oklahoma-based nonprofit organization with the mission of sharing resources, sharing personal experiences, and providing education to parents who have a child any age who might be struggling with substance use disorder. So if you're a parent and you find yourself having a high school student, an adolescent who's just beginning to experiment with drugs and alcohol, who's beginning to struggle, you're in the right spot. We want to support you. We want to help educate you, connect you with resources, and share our experiences. And if you're a parent who's 65 and has an adult child that's 40 who's been in and out of recovery or in active addiction for a long time, we want to support you too. We've got families that have those experiences as well. So as a part of the organization, we run the gamut of experience. We've got families whose child has found recovery and is doing really well. We have families whose children are still out in active addiction. We've had families who've had their children pay the unfortunate ultimate price of losing a life to overdose. And so ultimately, we want to bring our stories and our experiences onto a place, whether it's in a room or live on Facebook, and share what we've uncovered along the way so that maybe somebody can learn from our experiences and find some hope. So that's your story. You're in the right spot. If you're just wanting to hang out and listen to some cool stuff, you're in the right spot too. There's a couple of different ways that you can connect with us, both long-term and tonight. If you want more information about Parents Helping Parents, all the different support groups that we offer both online and in person, you can check us out on the Facebook page at Parents Helping Parents Inc., or you can check us out on the website www.parentshelpingparents.info. Lots of great information there, lots of great educational material there, and information about our upcoming fundraisers as well. Tonight, we want this to be as interactive as possible through a live stream. We know you're watching us. We can't really see you, but there is a couple different ways that you can interact and ask questions if you want to. The first way is through the comment section live on the Facebook feed. I'm monitoring that over here on my right side of the screen, your left side. I don't know how it works. This area, I'm monitoring those questions. And so if you've got comments or if you've got questions for me or my guest tonight, be sure to put those there. I also know that a lot of people are concerned about their privacy and concerned about their anonymity and might not be in a place where they're totally comfortable asking questions on an online platform that will be there for all time. So if that's you and you've got questions, but you're a little bit nervous about that, in the title of this video on Facebook, there is a private text line. I also have that up on this section of my screen over here. You can text questions or comments to that line. I'm the only one that ever sees those. We use those during the live show, and then we delete that thread so that it's nice and clean for the next round in a couple of weeks. So if you're concerned about your privacy or you want to protect yourself, you can ask questions that way. I think that might be all I've got. I'm really excited about, actually, that's not all I got. Teaser. Sorry, McKenzie, you got to wait another 2 minutes. Hey, one of the things that I want everybody to do that's watching live real quick, and I'm going to do it along with you. That way we can kind of walk through it together. Reach over to the feed that you're watching and click the share button. That is really important because what it does is it exponentially increases the amount of people that might see this video. The people that might see it live on Facebook right now are only people that follow Parents Helping Parents. But if I share it to my news feed, if you share it to your news feed, that immediately gives it access to X quantifier number of people, right? And then share on, so on, so on. And I've been doing this professionally a long time, not leading live streams. I've been doing addiction work professionally for a long time. And what I know is that even if you only have a couple hundred Facebook friends, somebody out of that couple hundred has a family member, has a loved one who's struggling with the disease of addiction or who's in a bad place tonight. And this is not hyperbole. Sharing a video like this could potentially save someone's life if this is the message, or if this is the thing that they finally hear where they think, hey, this person can do it, maybe I can do it too, and they reach out for some help. And so don't be afraid to share these things if you're comfortable with that. We would appreciate it, and the people that are out there struggling would appreciate it. Now I'm done. So I'm excited tonight. I've got my good friend McKenzie. She's going to unmute herself. McKenzie is a friend of mine who is also a person, I say also not because I am, but because many of my other friends are, who is a person in recovery who is willing to come on, share a little bit about her story with us, and talk a little bit about the role that family has played, not only in her life before, but also in her life now in recovery. So McKenzie, I'm going to pass it on to you. Why don't you just kind of tell us who you are and maybe share a little bit about your story with us, and then we'll have some good old conversation.
Yeah, sounds great. Derek, thank you so much, first and foremost, for inviting me. It was these moments that really got me to the point that I am at today. So I'm McKenzie. Pleasure to meet you guys. My sober date is July 10th of 2022. By the grace of a really good rehab that I went to, a very strong support system, and what I call my higher power that we'll talk about a little bit about. I am able to say that I have over 8 months of recovery, and I'm just getting started. My addiction started for me way before my infatuation with drugs and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol are a very big part of my story, both of them. So I identify and I work a program of Alcoholics Anonymous, but drugs were definitely what got me to my end all. Good life. My parents worked, both my parents worked. I was a single child for the first 12, 13 years of my life. Tumultuous biological father, but a wonderful bonus dad that I'm still really close with today. Pretty even keel relationship, I'd say, as far as that goes. Got invited to the high school parties like a lot of us do, and I will never forget that first drink that I had. And that's what they say kind of separates a normie or a non-alcoholic from us with addiction is I can't tell you what I had for lunch a couple of days ago, but I can tell you about a lot of my experiences where I found something outside of myself to change the way I felt about me inside. And, it was off to the races from there. That all started around 13, 14 years old. And here I am today at 28. I'll be 29 in a couple of weeks. So math isn't my strong suit. Have fun with that one. But it's been that. I'm educated. I have a degree in social work. I like helping other people. I'm on my A game when I'm helping other people, but my addiction isolates me. My kind of the rut that I get into makes it to where I feel like I'm a burden, or like my problems aren't big enough, or nobody will understand what I'm going through. So it's easy for me to keep my distance. And then that's just a downward spiral of itself. To show you, I guess tell you, excuse me, a little bit more about my history is I like to start with one of the quotes from one of the books that we study in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's from Came to Believe. I highly recommend it if you have a loved one that's getting into Alcoholics Anonymous. This is just a by topic section book. And this one states, I regret many things that happened on this journey, but I no longer regret that it took place. I had to find my rock bottom. And the really interesting thing about this disease is everybody's rock bottom looks different. I still have my education. I didn't have to lose my too many jobs. I didn't lose my car. I didn't lose my family. No kids are involved, but it was still bottom enough for me to want to get help. And I'm very, very fortunate that my family was there to help me. It took me a long time to get the courage to ask for it. I'd say my drinking really started strong whenever I was about 19. And my husband was old enough to buy a liquor, and it was just the thing to do because that was the age we were in. We were both working in oil and gas, made entirely too much money, and definitely living that large and in charge lifestyle. I drank behind his back, and whenever he wasn't around, or if I was out of town or anything of that nature, like I just drank to pass time, really. And that sounds kind of pathetic, but that was my truth. In 2020, he died in a car accident, and that was my high school sweetheart. Had been with him for nearly 10 years, and that devastated me. And all I thought I had was my relationship with alcohol. And guys, whenever I say it was bad, it was gnarly. And that was just drinking. I put my family in really unfortunate situations of having to take care of me, of not really caring if I lived or died. My drinking was suspiciously suicidal, is a term that I like to use. I didn't want to kill myself, but I didn't like the idea of living. So I was doing anything that I could to kind of ease that pain. Moved from Colorado to Texas to be a little bit closer to home, and started bartending, and that definitely took everything a little bit different. And I got involved with the use of cocaine. If I could do a little cocaine, I could drink a little more, right? Makes total logic sense to me. Checked out. Got in with a bad crowd that, to make a long story short, ended up getting into harder drugs and started using drugs intravenously. And all of that happened for me within a span of about 4 months. And in that 4 months, my family knew something was going on, but we didn't really know they didn't know how to approach me with their concerns. It took me working with a friend that had found recovery a few months before I did, that had reached back to help me and convinced me to come to Oklahoma City and seek treatment and just get out of there and get out of my own way for a little bit. And it's one of the best decisions that I've made. By the grace of God, that family is still a very, very active part of my life. I get to see my son also thrive. Recovery for me today, like learning how to be an adult. I spent so long of life running away from my emotions and my problems that I never really got good coping skills. And I can't shame myself for when I knew. That's when I knew. That just gives me a solid foundation to do better moving forward. And that is what I really love about my recovery is I choose to recover out loud. So hopefully nobody else has to suffer in silence. My isolation, I hate to say it, but made me feel like I was very unlovable. And because I have a very strong family that fought for me and made sure I wasn't, I'm here today. And now in turn, I get to help families and hopefully help others that are struggling. I had to learn how to have a relationship with my family. I had to learn how to say what my needs were and to not try to do everything by myself. My family raised me very independent and very steadfast, but I, as an alcoholic, took that to the extreme. And I'm learning now that that doesn't necessarily mean I have to do everything by myself. And that it's okay for me to ask for help. And man, this life is so good whenever I let others help me and I let others love me. Because that's what I find a lot of joy in is, being a light unto others as I'm called to be. And it's not my business for me to take away the opportunity from somebody to show me their love. It's been a journey, and some days are easier than others. But as long as I stay where my feet are. That's been a big thing for me is I have to practice my mindfulness and just being in this moment. And there's self check-ins and truly my desire to change is stronger than my desire to stay the same. And on my hard days, I know that I have a support system that I can lean on that pick up my slack, but consistently, they meet me more than in the middle. And that's the beauty, that's the fairy tale. That's what I think is innately what everybody is searching and seeking for. I just didn't know how to accept it. And with my recovery, I'm getting truly a second chance, and I'm getting to experience a lot of things sober for the first time in my life. And that's been wonderful. Uh, Probably the best part of my recovery is I have a little sister that's 16, you guys, and if I cry, I'm not even going to apologize, because that's been such a delight to me, as I get to be a participant in her life now. Like, she just sent me a text a couple of minutes ago. We're about to work on chemistry homework together. And this time last year, I couldn't have told you what grade she was in. And now she looks at me with adoration and so much love. And I get a lot of "I'm proud of yous," but nothing compares to the "I'm proud of yous" from that little girl. Um, my sponsor teaches me, like, what a gift. She's helping me understand the little blessings in everyday life, and that I don't have to stay as bogged down as I was. It's really easy for me to live in my own head. Recovery makes my head a lot prettier of a place to be, and for that, I'm very grateful. So with that, I hope we've got a couple of things that we can go off of there, Zarek. Kind of open-ended, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I got a long list.
All right.
I had you highlighted on the screen so nobody could see my ugly mug while you were talking, but now we're both back up. Congratulations on what you've been able to accomplish so far. And I know that congratulations isn't just a congratulations to you, it's a congratulations that includes all of the people that played a role in helping you and supporting you and being there for you. And it's really, any type of recovery milestone is a group effort, but it should still be celebrated. So man, I love it. So I got notepads, I got notes on my phone. I'm going to switch back and forth because I wanted to ask you, McKenzie, some specific questions. And I think I'm going to start with one that I just wrote down while you were talking, because I feel like it's something that maybe parents feel a lot, and maybe it would be helpful from somebody who's been there to be able to address that for them. It's really just a question: is your or was your struggle with alcohol or with substances in any way the fault of bad parenting?
No, my gosh, no, never. Um, and that's not to say that my parents were perfect by any means. I wasn't a perfect kid. My parents, I know now, my parents were doing the best they could at that time. My mom had me when she was 22, and here I sit as a 28-year-old without kids, and I think, damn, excuse my language, but
You can say damn.
my mom, yeah, my mom did a wonderful job, I think, raising me. I talked a little bit about the biological father that I don't have a relationship, and then my relationship with whom I consider my parents, and they gave me boundaries, and I'm grateful that they did, because had I not had that, I couldn't imagine where I would be. I feel like, frankly, I had a leg up because my parents did care. My teenage self wanted me to think, oh, woe is me, I'm being picked on, it's not fair. No, that's just, my parents showed me love. Communication has definitely changed since then, and that's been a very important bit of our relationship post recovery for me. But it's never been like there's a specific moment or a specific thing that they did that made me feel like I needed to drink or use over. It was always the best way I can think to explain this is my skin never felt right. My skin never fit right. I always felt uncomfortable, like I didn't belong. And my parents worked very hard to make sure that I was in the extracurricular activities. I did the art classes. My mom was heavily involved in PTA. Dad taught me how to drive. Like I said, pretty golden standard childhood, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I I hope my parents actually get a little bit from this too. There was nothing that they did that I had ever taken a shot or a shot of over that.
Yeah, I think, a lot of times I talk with parents and they're ate up. I don't want to call it an obsession. Maybe obsession is too strong of a language, but they have this kind of phobic delusion that just ruminates in their head that, like, if I would have done better, or if I would have fill in the blank, they wouldn't fill in the blank.
I get that, and I got to have a conversation with my mom about that. My mom's always explained it to me that she just wanted me to have better than what she had.
Yeah.
And whenever addiction became a part of my story, that goes against a lot of what's normal. And yeah, she did feel like it was something she did. My mom never poured me a drink. My mom never took me to a drug dealer. My mom never, enabled those kinds of behaviors. So I definitely separate that from my use and my drinking.
Yeah. You made a comment at one part of your story talking about how addiction isolated you. How did that specifically begin to isolate you from, like, your family and the people that were really the ones that ended up being instrumental in helping you change?
Um, I would go weeks without talking to my family. After my husband had died, we our communication and our relationship got a little better. Um, they were a big support system while I was going through those very early stages of grief. But then, whenever I started using drugs on it, specifically drugs, and definitely whenever I was in Lubbock and drinking on a daily basis, I just wouldn't answer their calls. And my sense of time was really screwed, if that makes any sense. So
Yeah.
I could get a phone call from my dad and think, oh, I'll just call him back later. And days would pass. And then by that time, now it's embarrassing. And I don't want to call you back because I have to explain why I've been, off the radar for a few days, not just a couple
Mm,
of hours. And then those um, voicemails that they would leave just would get a little bit more concerned and, hey, we're thinking about you. I haven't heard from you in a little bit. And I would feel like a failure. And because I didn't have an outlet to talk to about how I was feeling, there again, that spiral, that common theme of, man, maybe if I just ignore it, it'll go away. But I knew
yeah.
that was the case, but I didn't know what to do to fix it.
Yeah. You said that eventually you were able to somehow have the courage to ask for help.
Mhm.
What were some of the things that happened between point A and point B of having the courage to ask for help? Like, what got you to that point, you think?
So my friend that helped me get sober and was actually a party friend of mine in the Lubbock area and had grown up in OKC. Um, he's just celebrated a year sober, actually. We're really proud of him. But whenever he had gotten out of his treatment program and he'd called me, he'd worked with me from about March of last year up until July when I finally got treatment. And it was a very consistent, are you sick of it yet? Are you done with it yet? Hey, I know something better. And I love you. I'm not giving up on you.
Yeah.
Um, and I kept putting off going to visit because I was afraid of that change. Ended up coming to Oklahoma City and staying with his family actually while I detoxed. That was very interesting. And I was supported by so much love and understanding because I was so afraid to tell my parents. There was a lot of guilt there. And I think at that time I associated it with shame. Um, shame is you're bad, guilt is I feel bad. And now I know I'm not a bad person. I made
Yeah.
mistakes, mistake, but in the middle of that, trying to come clean is a really uncomfortable feeling. Um, Really, it took blood family and family that I got to choose that just reminded me that my problems, they are problems, but they're solvable. And I can't get what I need unless I ask for it. And no matter what, my support was there. And I always knew in the back of my mind that my parents were going to be there to support me. But that was terrifying, letting them know that um, hey, you were right, essentially is what it was.
Mm,
It
yeah.
expressed concerns for me for such a long time and I'd blown it off. And now it really came down to rehabilitation is what I need. Um, yeah, it was uncomfortable. And that was the most uncomfortable, I kid you not, 30 seconds of my life. That's all it took.
Mm,
30 seconds of uncomfortable. And 2 days later, my parents were in Oklahoma City.
yeah.
and we spent the weekend together before I went to treatment, got a lot of things hashed out. I hadn't seen them in probably 4 months, and all it took was 30
Wow.
seconds of mom just listening. She asked a couple of questions and she said, "Okay, I'll call your dad. We'll get it figured out. I love you." And I will never forget those words.
Yeah.
And I still think about it now, we'll figure it out. I love you. And
Yeah.
that's my theme now. And I'm grateful.
Yeah. That's great. What kind of role does your family now play as a part of your recovery support system?
Um, my family, let me start by saying my family has always done this, and a big part of this was I had to come to terms with like the things that they were always doing for me.
Mm,
That acceptance was a big thing. My isolation and my sick brain, as I like to refer to it, tried to villainize people that I think would impede on me getting drunk or me getting high. It was easy to make a safe spot a villain, like my family, but they're my accountability. They're my sounding boards. The way I'm working my program is if I have to second if I have to think over a situation, I need to run it by at least a couple of different people because
yeah.
I'm really goose. I need a lot of people
Yeah.
to the right direction that um, don't, that they can steer me from making those bad decisions that I'm so quick to do. Um, my favorite thing is they help me see normal. Like my mom and I will talk about the pets or what she's doing at work or events that are coming up or just the remember wins. My life is recovery now. That's my profession. That's what I do in my free time, and I'm blessed by that. But my family is my normalcy. I get
Yeah.
to see cousins in like their track meets and their dance recitals, and hear what they're studying in school. And I get to be reminded that just because I am an alcoholic, that doesn't mean that everybody is. And they give me a safe place to do so.
One of the things I'm kind of hearing you allude to a little bit, McKenzie, which is I think maybe a misconception that a lot of families have once someone gets into recovery, is that you can be a part of someone's recovery support system and actually have very little to do with recovery itself. Does that make
Um,
sense?
Are you saying like dry versus like
Yeah,
so?
it's like, well, it's like your family is very supportive of your recovery, but they're not the ones that are asking you if you're going to meetings. They're not the ones that are, asking you about sobriety and the things that you struggle with related to your recovery. They're like the piece of life that helps you feel like not all of my life is about recovery, and that they
Absolutely.
can be supportive of it, but not embedded in it.
Yeah,
Does that make
absolutely.
sense?
It does. Yes. Sorry, I misunderstood that. And they do. Like whenever they come to visit me, my both mom and dad and my little sister have gone to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous with me. That's a really good way for them to see, somebody else's story also that kind of gives them some insight there. But yeah, my recovery gave them permission to be my family. And that sounds really silly, but that was
Yeah.
something that I kept them from, because in my mind's eye, if I protected them from my own chaos, they weren't going to get hurt. And now, my mom gets to be a mother, my dad gets to be a father, my sister
Yeah.
gets to be a parent. And yeah, recovery is a part of my story, but um, exactly like you said, it's not every single bit. And it's nice to have the life, like the part
Yeah.
worth living.
Yeah. It helps provide a little bit of balance.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anything, McKenzie, that you wish, um, like in hindsight, that either you or your family would have known about, or somebody would have said to them, you know, back when you were out, that would have made a difference either for them or for you?
Hmm. I think the biggest thing with that is um, whenever my parents did come to Oklahoma City that weekend before I went to treatment, I got to watch the interaction between my friends' parents and my parents. So I got to see both sets of non-alcoholics come together and love on their kids, the alcoholics.
Yeah.
And um, really both of them just expressed their love from a different standpoint. Um, And my friend's parents had got to help them understand this couldn't be fixed unless I wanted it to be. There was nothing that my parents could have said or done that would have changed my mind. Like, I had to break my own heart enough to ask for help originally. And I think that was the permission my parents needed for this to be my journey, but for them to love me where I was at, and we grow together. Our dynamic's a lot different now, but it's beautiful in the sense that it's worked out, and I've never had this relationship with my family. But they just had to learn, the worst thing is hopefully already happened. It's done, it's past, and now we can just move forward. And there's still a lot of decisions that I need to make so that way I don't fall back into what I was doing. They can't protect me forever, but their love makes me want to protect myself.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
yeah, that I think has been, one of the brightest points of this. We communicate, like I sound like a broken record for saying that, but that has been such a massive portion, because growing up, my family was very much the understood love, like had I love yous, and like all the love languages were met, but it was very superficial because, all the boxes were ticked and then some. But I didn't have the relationship with my family that I do now. And now I have the chance to.
Yeah, man,
And
that's great.
yeah, life's really, really good on this side of step one. And I got to bring my loved ones with me.
So for people who might not be familiar with a 12-step program, explain that phrase, because I think it's a great phrase, but I don't want it to get lost in translation. That phrase of things look really great on this side of step one.
Yes. So in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, step one is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives had become unmanageable. My sponsor teaches it to me as it's a two-part situation: the unmanageability and powerlessness. I want to control everything. It's that my skin's not fitting right situation, right? But I can't control the weather. I can't control what people think about me. I can't control anything aside from myself. If that's it. And the unmanageability is me trying to play God. I'm not good at playing God. Like, clearly, it wrecks everything every time. And having a very solid first step of me saying, I'm no longer God and I don't want to be. And whenever I try to play them, everything gets totally out of whack and I'm miserable. That's where we get that saying from. So me saying, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, please, Jesus, take the wheel, whatever your power is. There's a lot of peace and serenity that's came with that. I don't have to control everything anymore. I don't have to have the answers for everything. I get to do life today where my feet are. And it takes care of a lot of the issues that used to just take up so much of my space in my head.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, the last thing I always ask people, McKenzie, as we're kind of wrapping things up, is if you had like 60 seconds just to deliver a 60-second message of hope, either to a family who may be watching that's got a kiddo that's out in a bad place, or maybe even somebody who's actually struggling with their own addiction comes across this video, what would like your simple 60-second message of hope be for somebody that's hurting tonight?
Powerful stuff. What has helped me the most is you are worthy of the love and compassion that you show other people. I feel like that's an easy way to speak that to families or to the still suffering alcoholic or addict. Everything is figurable outable. There's not really a smooth way to say that, but your feelings are valid, and I'm so sorry that you and your loved ones are going through what you're going through. But that 30 seconds of courage changed my life. And regardless of if it's family that you choose or your blood family or your best friend forever, that helps you get to a point where you're happy and healthy. That's all it takes is just you saying, I need help, or I want to help you. I had so many people, just aside from my parents and my friend, that helped me get to the spot that I'm at today. And it takes a village. You know, we're whenever we're helping other people, so let others love you too.
Yeah, excellent. Hey, McKenzie, one, thanks for being you. You're one of my favorite people. I think you're awesome.
Thanks.
Two, thank you for your time and just being willing to come and be vulnerable and share part of your story. It means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to everybody that was watching, so I just really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to help. And thank you again for the invitation.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah, I'd love for you to connect me with the other family. I think they'd be great to talk to. So send me that info. And hey, for everybody that joined us tonight, thank you.
Thanks.
I'm sure that you heard something that that was worthwhile and it could be helpful for you. I know I did. I made lots of little handy notes that I can transfer to my permanent notebook. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for your time. McKenzie, thank you again. I'll see you soon. All right.
Bye.